Hello, grade 12, and welcome to a new reading comprehension lesson with a new theme, social media and the postmodern world. And the lesson is called Breaking Up with Breaking News. Of course, the postmodern world is the world we're living in after the many modern inventions have taken place. This is the world we live in. We call it the postmodern world after the modernization process. Let's begin by answering the following discussion questions. Name 2 uses of social media in our lives. Many uses for social media, mostly communication. You can get information, news, self-expression. Now, how predominant or how widespread has it become in our lives? It has become largely predominant. Rarely would you ever find a person who doesn't have a certain social media platform which they use, no matter how old they are. Even the elderly in their 70s or maybe more are using social media networks nowadays because it has become the major means of communication amongst people. Now, the issue here, we're going to talk about how do you feel about social media being a source of news? We live in the age of news. How reliable or credible or objective is it? Well, social media such as Facebook and WhatsApp have become the major platform for news nowadays. The issue is that at many times and on many occasions we saw how these platforms have helped spread so much fake news, leading to so many social issues. So instead of the social media being a source, as it should have, of bringing people together, just as Facebook used to claim, we want to bring people together, make them communicate, it has become a huge source of social and political conflict. It's a source of misinformation during political campaigns. It spread so many fake news about events that didn't happen, people who died. Now recently, the COVID vaccine, they spread all sorts of fake news about it, making people intimidated and scared of going through with the vaccination process. Okay, the lesson now, Breaking Up with Breaking News by Farhad Manjoo. In the selection below, the writer communicates what he has learned from getting the news via or through print newspapers over a period of 2 months. Read the selection carefully and then work out the activities that follow. I first got the news of the school shooting via an alert on my watch. However, for much of the next day, after the alert, I heard almost nothing about the shooting. There was a lot I was glad to miss. For instance, I did not see the false claims that the killer was from the Middle East. I missed the Fox News report tying him to a resistance group abroad even before his name had been released. I also did not see the claim circulated on Twitter that the massacre had been the 18th school shooting of the year, which was not true. So the problem here the author was facing was the news that came through the new technological device like your watch, your smartwatch, your smartphone, and most of them are unfounded or fake or just put so much spice on the original news and make it totally diverge from its truth. Instead, the day after the shooting, a friendly person dropped off the newspapers at my front door. That morning, I spent maybe 40 minutes poring over the horror of the shooting and a million other things the newspapers had to tell me. Not only had I spent less time with the story than if I had followed along as it unfolded online, but also I was better informed. So when he read it through the newspaper, he was so much better informed. Because I had avoided the innocent mistakes and the more malicious misdirections, sometimes they misdirect you on purpose. Some social media platforms have their own agenda. They want to take you somewhere. They want you to think in a certain way. That has pervaded the first Hours after the shooting, my first experience of the news was an accurate account of the actual events of the day, because he read it through a print newspaper. Paragraph 3. This has been my life for nearly 2 months. In January, after the breaking newsiest year in recent memory, a lot of breaking news, I decided to travel back in time. Of course, metaphorically. Travel back in time, going back to newspapers. I turned off my digital news notification, unplugged from Twitter and other social networks, and subscribed to home delivery of 3 print newspapers. It has been life-changing. Turning off the buzzing breaking news machine I carry in my pocket was like freeing myself from a monster. Of course, this is another figure of speech, who had me on a speed dial, always ready to break into my day with half-baked bulletins. Okay, so with half-baked news that was not accurate. Now I am not just less anxious and addicted to the news, but also better and more widely informed. Getting news only from print newspaper may be extreme and probably not for everyone. But the experiment has taught me a lesson about the pitfalls of digital news and how to avoid them. Digital news through my phone, my smartwatch, my tablet, okay, and all those digital devices. I know what you're thinking. There is much to hate about print. The pages are too big, the type is too small, and the ink is too messy. Compared with the smartphone, a newspaper is more of a hassle to consult on the go. However, print presents news. He wrote it in capital letter, meaning it's real news, not fake or half-baked. What you get online is not quite news. It is more like a never-ending stream of commentary, one that does more to distort your understanding of the world than to illuminate it. So they just mix up things, they mix you up, they confuse you. On the social networks, every news story comes to you pre-digested. So they digest the news for you. They write for you their opinion. People do not just post stories. They post their own take on the story, their opinion, often quoting key parts of a story to delve into the story to come up with their own view, making them susceptible to misinformation. We are living in the age of misinformation. Wrong information that is being circulated in seconds through our digital devices. Real life is slow. It takes professionals time to figure out what happened. Smartphones and social networks are giving us facts about the news much faster than we can make sense of them, letting speculation and misinformation fill the gap. Now, after something breaks, we are all buzzed with an alert. Your phone buzzes or your smartwatch, often before most of the facts are in. This is the surprise blessing of a newspaper. I was getting news a day old, but in the delay between when the news happened and when it showed up at my front door, hundreds of experienced professionals had done hard work to make sure the news is accurate. That said, you do not need to read a print newspaper to get this. You can. My recent experiment has taught me that newspapers are not perfect. Of course, experiment meaning breaking up with the digital news and going to the print newspaper. Newspapers are not perfect, but social media outlets are definitely so bad. The built-in incentives on Twitter and Facebook, for instance, reward speed over depth. What they care about is just posting it as fast as they could. So hot takes over facts, and propagandists, people who spread political rumors, over well-meaning analyzers of news. You do not have to read a print newspaper to get a better relation with the news. But for goodness sake, please stop getting the news mainly from Twitter, Facebook, and the likes. In the long run, you and everyone else will be better off. Okay, now let's move on to the questions. Answer the following question in 2 to 3 complete sentences using your own words. With reference to paragraphs 1 and 2, list 3 benefits that writer has obtained from reading about the school shooting from print newspaper. He said, there was much less misinformation. Okay, he was better informed. He avoided innocent mistakes and sometimes purposefully made malicious misdirection. So he read the news in an accurate way. Okay, in reference to paragraphs 3 and 4, why does the writer resort to reading news through print papers? Why does he do that? He decided to travel back in time metaphorically because he would feel less anxious. The news aren't half-baked anymore. He wanted to avoid half-baked news. He wanted to free himself from this monster of digital news, and the experiment has taught him, okay, the pitfalls of digital news. The pitfalls are the disadvantages, the dark side, and he wanted to avoid all those. So he just broke up with digital news. Now, according to the text, this I will ask you during Zoom Live. According to the text, is it easy or difficult to pass on fake news through social media? Of course, it is so easy. I can just hold my phone now and post anything I want, anything, and hundreds of people would read it. And if I were an influencer with millions of followers, millions of people and millions would read it, and I will cause a stir in society. It is so easy to say that this actor died, this politician died, this vaccine is not good, and look at the chaos it is doing in our society. In 2-3 sentences and by referring to your own experiences, what is your opinion about news you receive through social media? Of course, each one of you might have their own different experiences, but I am sure most of you would have mixed feelings. Yes, social media news through your phone is fast, easy, you get the news fast, but in the end you get them, as the author said, half-baked, inaccurate, biased, and generally not credible unless there are certain news sources which are known to be credible and objective. Well, this is it for today's lesson. We'll talk about it more. We will take a persuasive writing essay related to this topic. You will be taught how to write a persuasive essay. Until then, please stay safe and take care. Thank you for listening. Bye.